Good morning, everybody. It's the pollinator. And ooh-wee, things that are going on in this country is enough to drive regular people insane. Versus irregular people like me. Listen, I need to tell everybody something about me before I jump into this topic. And I really want to be talking about so many different things, but I told this guy, one of the members of my group, that I would talk about this, and so maybe that's a way for me to jump back on the bandwagon. But let me tell you something about me that I don't know if I shared it or how many times I've shared it in the past, but so I suffer from depression. And I battle it on and off. And every time something else happens in this country well, listen, I don't know the statistics. They fell out of my head. And I may link a video that'll show up over here. By the way, if you appreciate my content, please click subscribe and click that thumbs up button and share it if you would. But so I suffer from depression, and from time to time, the statistics in this country are that if you watch too many videos of us getting brutalized and murdered and deleted and canceled and all the stuff that happens on a regular basis in this country because of white supremacy, if black people watch too much of that stuff, the depression rate skyrockets in this country, like 4% for at least 7 days after an airing of something. And, the Tyree, I think I'm saying his name right. Anyway, that I did not want to watch that video. And I really don't know why I did it anyway, because it's just, par for the course in this country. And we are the only people, black people are the only people in this country that they will air us getting murdered and brutalized and all of the other stuff that happens to us on national TV. Do you notice that none of the other people in this country do that to? We are the only ones that end up going national and sometimes international. George Floyd went all over the world. This Tyree guy may go all over the world too, but I don't think people were tuned in the way that they were during the George Floyd murder. But, so, I have to do things like, just completely remove myself from watching videos for long stretches of time, participating in live streams, whether I be commenting or just watching it. I have to take breaks from that shit because, look, we are the only people that they're just trying to desensitize the world into thinking it's just par for the course. It's an okay thing to do to us. Now, statistics would show that the police, which I nicknamed KKKOPS, the KKK cops, they brutalize their own people more than they do us, but they do not air that crap on TV. They may do it on local channels of wherever it happened, but they don't blast that shit all over national TV. So, I'm going to try not to hit this desk like I usually do. But it takes a toll on us, and it's quite intentional that they keep us off guard. They try to scare the bejesus out of us, that they try to keep us in line. They do all of the things that they do. The media is totally in on it to just keep us wanting to be crazy in this country. Give us an excuse, give them an excuse to off a whole bunch of us at one time for getting so mad that we completely revolt. We only comprise 13% of this population in the United States. And I'm telling you, if some shit went down, all the rest of the people in this country would just watch like a TV commercial. Notice with the Tyree thing, they publicized that thing like it was a movie. Oh, at this time on this day, we're going to air this all over the country. We're going to blast it. So aside from that, and a lot of the things that I deal with as a trans man in this country, and a black trans man, and the VA, and buying this house, and all of the stuff that I go through, I'm just off kilter. And when that happens, I tend to withdraw into my own space and don't come out until I'm okay to do that. Now, I wasn't even going to make this video today. And you know what? I'm not even sure why I'm doing it, especially at this time of the morning, because I'm exhausted. I've been up since 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock yesterday. But I'm still wired because there's just a whole lot going on here. And I'm just trying to catch my breath. And I've been doing interviews with connected to a organization that helps elderly trans people. So I've been doing interviews, written interviews for them, and just all the regular old stuff that I do, and trying to keep on top of my mental health. Because I'm telling you, we are a resilient, tough group of hombres in this country to watch and put up with what we do, and to be able to keep a level head and do whatever we have to do to keep it that way. For over 400 years, we have had to do that. And this situation with the police is not going to change. I don't care what we do. It's not going to change, because Democrats, Republicans, it don't matter. It's all about white supremacy and keeping that intact. That's why when all these crazy things happen, you don't hear nothing from the politicians. You don't hear nothing from the unions. Oh, and especially now because of 5 black guys that actually did this crap. But, you know, for all these centuries, there has always been black people who sell out other black people. So, you know, what those guys did was part of that. Okay. White supremacy perpetuating itself within the black culture. If anybody gets a chance, go read the Willie Lynch letters. It tells specifically how to keep black people off balance, how to keep them fighting with each other. And they even said in that document, the Willie Lynch guy said, you know, we do this enough to them, they'll self-perpetuate it. So when they talk about all black on black crime and all that other bullshit, it still came from white supremacy. It did not come from our invention. We weren't like this in Africa before we were brought here. Yeah, there were fighting tribes and stuff like that, but nothing on the level of the way that people, black people put celebrities on pedestals, the way that we just trust one another, the way that we go after one another, and just, okay. So anyway, I've been dealing with that. And I've turned into Mr. Handyman around here. Home Depot has become my second home. Home away from home, because I have so much to do here. I had no idea that owning a house would require so much. I'm having fun doing it, but it takes a great amount of concentration with somebody who has trouble with concentrating. And that's all remnants of depression that I was in. I am under medication for it. Of course, I've cut back a whole lot of that crap they were giving me, because it was making me sick and keeping me sicker. But I just wanted to let y'all know that, when I disappear for long stretches of time, is to take care of myself. Now, part of taking care of myself is helping others. But when I'm not, when my chakras aren't balanced, I can't do that. So I got to step back and practice a little self-care, and then I can come back and do stuff like this, be on live streams. I haven't wanted to do it. And I lost my mojo. I lost my mojo a while ago, and I'm not going to rehash why that happened. I've stated it many a time, and I haven't wanted to go into specifics about it because I don't want the bastards that did all what they did to me to know how much it hurt me and how much it threw me off and what it did to my business and just all sorts of stuff. I really don't want to be a bleeding heart about that stuff, because some of the haters will be sitting there clapping their hands. We got them. So, has nothing to do with the topic. What I promised this guy, I didn't really promise him, but when I tell people I'm going to do something, I have enough integrity that it'll bother me and bother me and bother me until I do it, even if I don't promise. It's a promise in my head just to tell somebody I'm going to do it and then just follow through and do it. That's what men do. They don't make excuses. They don't try to avoid and just not even try to get it done. And I don't even believe in trying. I was in a seminar once, and the seminar director said, okay, everybody grab your pen or pencil, whatever you're holding on to, and try to drop the pencil. Try to drop it. Is there any trying to drop a pencil? No, you either drop it or you don't, right? Successful people don't try to do things. They either do things or they don't. And they listen to it in their head like that. Either I do it or I didn't do it. Not I tried. Tried is a weak man's way of saying I didn't want to, without saying that out loud. So what I told this guy that I would do is kind of walk people through what it took for me to buy this house, because I took some very, very big risks, and the risks that I took freaked me out until I got a hold of my homie, my best friend, and talked through it and made some plan Bs to what I did. That freaked me out because I put a lot of faith in the God of my understanding, which, look, you know what? When I say God, I don't want people to freak out and think I'm talking about religious gods. I'm not. I'm very metaphysical. I'm very metaphysical, spiritual, and psychic at times. And that is the God that I have access to, that gives me vision, that gives me sight, that gives me direction, that is who I don't even pray to God. I don't pray. I talk to God. And I listen. I do more listening than I do talking. So I put a lot of faith that when I put things in motion, that they were going to happen. But like I said, I started freaking out because first of all, so I saw this house. Well, a house, actually I saw the property. I saw the land that it was going to be built on. And then model of the house. About 3 or 4 months before I came back to this place. And I had written it off because they wanted way too much earnest money. And I thought, why you need so much earnest money? Is something wrong with you guys' finances? And I just did not trust what they were saying was the reason why they wanted this, and why, were you having problems with the houses that people would pull out at the last minute and didn't put much on the line. I said, besides, I'm a veteran. I'm not supposed to be putting anything down on a VA loan. So what's going on here? So I just dumped it, right? And about 2 months later, 3 months later, 2 or 3 months later, I was I was playing switcheroo real estate agents because I kept bumping into agents that didn't want to do anything. They didn't want to help me find a house. They were just throwing listings at me, and I was getting irritated about that because they weren't even doing that right. I told them I wanted a 25 to 30 mile radius around the metro, and they was giving me stuff going way up toward the borders, way down off to the west, and I'm like, that is not what I asked for. And then when it came to talking to the agents, the selling agents, they weren't willing to do anything. They had me chasing them around and all this other stuff. I'm like, oh no, you guys aren't hungry enough. So I kept bailing out of agents, and then I found one who I had talked to like 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago. I spoke to her briefly, and for whatever reason I remembered her, and looked her up. And she was all too happy to help. In fact, she, we were talking about what I wanted the internals to be like, the external to be like, and all that other stuff. And I happened to mention this property and said, I found a place that I really liked it, but they wanted too much earnest money, and they were just being whatever they were being. And so she said, well, let me talk to them. I said, okay. So she got on the horn, and she spoke to them, and she talked them down from the earnest money, not all of it, but a good chunk of it, and started the ball in motion. I got what do they call it? Pre-qualified for the loan, which I was surprised by that, because they had 3 choices. And I wanted the builder's financing so that I can get the incentives for the sale. And so 2 of them counted me out, and then the third one took hold. And the minute I got this place under contract, I had to end my lease with the apartment I was living in. And ending my lease threw me into a month-to-month and made my rent jump way up, because I closed the same month that was going to be the end of the lease. So I had to end it. I had to end the lease to make sure that I could get out of that apartment unscathed and without having to pay a whole nother year worth of rent to them people, because they were assholes. I mean, most landlords these days are just ugh. And I was ready to go. I was ready to leave that place. Everybody knows I went out of the country to see if I would, like another country, because I'm really tired of the shit that's going on here. And of course there were going to be a lot of trade-offs to that, because I would lose health care and just a bunch of other stuff. But I did not like Costa Rica. The Hispanic people in Costa Rica acted like white people to me. I had something happen the minute I hit the ground, and I really didn't talk about that, but it was horrendous. So I had to end my lease before I knew that I was going to get this place. And I called movers. I set dates. I just put it all out on the line. I put up my earnest money. I did all of these things, and then I immediately start freaking out, because I start thinking, what if, for whatever reason, I don't close? Because I don't have the greatest credit in the world due to some crap that happened back in 2016. And, I just didn't think it was going to happen. So I began to get really nervous. Here's something that people do. We put all these things in motion, and then we give it to God, right? But after we give it to him, we take it back. You know what I mean? You take it back because you get worried that, you know how people say, won't God do it? Won't he do it? Well, I got concerned he wouldn't do it. And so I started fighting in my head, and then I had to begin this horrendous process of qualifying for this house. They had me hopping day and night, day and night, day and night, because I'm a night person, but I had to get up during the day to deal with them. And so my hours, I was getting very little sleep. I was bouncing all over the place. They had me signing this and filling out that and signing this and filling out that and read this and read that and explain this and explain that and all this stuff that was just like little ants all over my brain, just going pow, 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 pow. So, but see, when I start getting off kilter, I know to talk to somebody. And I don't talk to people for them to figure out what I should do. I talk to them to bounce off of them how I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, and all this other stuff. And in talking to them and talking it out, I begin to hear myself and how kooky it is. And that's when I can let in their suggestions. And, you know, it's completely my choice whether I follow what they say or not. But with people that are closest to me, I trust their judgment. So, you know, so me and my homie made a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, and I think a little bit of a plan D. And what was going to happen, which I really didn't want to happen, but that if, and I turned in my notice to that apartment complex without closing first, because I didn't want to pay 2 months worth of that inflated rent. So, So yeah, I gave them a move out date, and then they started sweating me, wanting to get in my apartment and see what they would have to do and all this other bullshit. I wouldn't let them in. I don't intimidate easily, and I didn't give a crap what they said. They tried to make me sign something. They tried to make me sign something, committing to, I don't know what it was, but I told them I'm not signing anything. I gave you my notice. It's a 30-day notice. And I will be out of there, and then you can see what you need to do. I said, you people act like I did something to the apartment, or I'm going to do something to the apartment. Why would I do something to the apartment when I'm trying to qualify for a house? I know they're going to call y'all for some, you know, rent information and financial. I know they're going to call you, so why would I do anything? Just leave me alone. I'm busy. So all this stuff was happening, and I was getting agitated and nervous, and my stomach was upset all the time, and my head was hurting, and thank God for my buddy, because he calmed me down by making me focus on something else. This plan B. Plan B was that if I didn't get to close on this house, that I would move everything into storage and move in with him. The problem with that is I had already booked them to move here, not move my shit into storage. So I had to tell these movers, well, you know, I think that's where I'm going to move, but if I don't, then we got to move everything into storage, and I got to find a storage unit real fast to move all my belongings in, because I could not move them into this guy's house. Just stuff that I would need on a daily basis until we could figure something else out. And I really did not want that plan, but it distracted me long enough to let go and let God. And it was all really crazy, because, you know, I was letting go with great hesitation and reservations and all this other stuff. Meanwhile, I had started to put everything in motion anyway. I took a risk. I took a huge gamble, and that everything would work out. And what's weird is, at some of the most depressing periods of my life, and periods where I was so down that I could barely function, miracles like this would happen, because I kept just enough faith. Even with all the negative racket going on in my head, I kept just enough faith and let go just enough to let God do his miracle on me, using me. I give God full permission to use me, not human beings, God. And so I let him use me right on into this house. So, brother, that's how it happened. and you know who you are because I told you, you were the only one I told I was going to make this video. And that I had to just keep, I was like a racehorse, you know, I was in the stall, just jumping, ready to go, but I had to stop until they said, okay, you're clear to close. Then I let out all of my emotions. I mean, I was ecstatic. I was beside myself. I couldn't believe it happened that way. I shouldn't have been able to qualify for this house. I'm telling you that. I'm telling you that. It's a big house. It's my mortgage is pretty high because the interest rates are ridiculous. The cost of the house was high, and for all intents and purposes, I should have done this. But you know what? When God wants things to happen, He'll make anything. He'll move mountains. I have people all over this country praying for me. I have people out of the country praying for this to happen for me because I put it all out there. I said, I'm going to get this place. Now, did I know that for a fact? No. But I claimed it like an affirmation. This is mine. And I made some videos saying that, I think. Yeah, I did. I think I made a video. I don't know if I put it on YouTube or not, but I made some videos saying this place was mine before it was mine. And that's how you have to do life sometimes. Shit, you can do that with jobs too. Did you know that? If you set out saying that thing is mine, that job is mine, that contract is mine, that business is mine, whatever it is that you want. If you set out in your mind and say it's yours, you're claiming it, you end up saying the right things to attain it. God will put that stuff in your head and it'll come right out your mouth. And I learned long ago, I'm a master interviewer. I have never not gotten a job I interviewed for. Because I know that they're buying me, not my credentials. Everybody thinks it's all about the... Look, I became a software developer with zero experience. Zero. And I won out over this woman that had a master's degree in information technology. I didn't have no degree. I had this. I knew they were... I had to turn them on, not just throw a resume at them and hope the resume turned them on. No, 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 no. And let me tell you, these phones, this texting and all that stuff is crippling a lot of people into not knowing how to use their mouth, how to use their mind, how to work it. Work it and let God speak through you or whatever you believe in, even if it's yourself. Just to say the right things and to just gear yourself up to claim the stuff, and then you'll end up saying the right things to get it. I mean, I had to explain some really embarrassing things that happened back in 2000. I had to explain that whole mess that happened to me at the hands of two different women. And, you know, at that time I was a simp and a beta, and I let myself be used, thinking that it would gain favor with those women. Now, I didn't do that consciously. It was all subconsciously, but I had to get to the bottom of it, you know, some years later, to prevent that from happening ever again. It's never their fault. I either allowed it or didn't allow it. And there are all sorts of reasons why we do it. But if you don't know yourself and you don't know your subconscious and you don't know how you think and you don't know how you tick and you don't know nothing about you, it's so easy to say it was them. They hurt me. Yeah, that's how I felt in the beginning. But then I quickly said, anything like that happens to me is because for whatever reason I allowed it. Now, I didn't figure out the first one. I figured out the second one before I figured out the first one, the first lady. The second one, I did all of that because I was afraid to transition alone. And funny enough, I ended up doing that anyway. She was zero support to me. Absolutely no support. In my transition, she wasn't interested in what I was going through. She wasn't interested in what I had to do, only as it related to her fears. Like I remember I'd only been living as a male 24/7 about 2 or 3 months, 2 months, when she was like, "Are you gonna get top surgery?" Now at that point I hadn't even thought about it. I wasn't even bothered that I still had half a female anatomy. I wasn't even thinking about that, and I looked at her and I was like, I don't know. Because look, for most of us, it's a process. Either you want to get out testosterone first, some people want to get top surgery first, and some people, and then the stuff builds up over time. It isn't something that right when you transition, all these things. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know how I was going to feel. I didn't know what I was going to think. I didn't know any of that stuff in the beginning. And so she was only concerned about whether or not she was going to have access to breasts. It wasn't about me and what I would have to go through to get it done. She didn't want to be part of it, and she wasn't. Not an encouragement, and certainly not financially, as much as she was trying to drain me of my money, with no regards that I needed to pay out of pocket for top surgery. So I ended up transitioning alone anyway, but I opened myself up to all that crap, thinking that, I don't know, I would get support from her. Because I hadn't made very many trans male friends at that point. Now I've got more than I can handle. And some that aren't trans, they're cis. And so anyway, yeah, I just wanted to put that out there, how I managed to get into this beautiful house. I love the house. It's so peaceful here. It's so quiet. It's so peaceful. I don't got to worry about people running all over the place, people arguing and slamming doors out in other people's apartments in the complex, or any of that stuff. But it is an adjustment, because I'm not used to this much space and this much freedom, and having to put things together and be a handyman. And you know what? I could pay other people to do it, but I don't want people messing with my stuff and accidentally breaking it and then having to deal with, oh God, businesses. They have gotten so bad. And shipping companies have gotten even worse. So they'll break your shit, or they'll do stuff, and then you have to go through all these changes to get that resolved. It has happened with my TV. It has happened when I moved here. Some things were damaged, and they still haven't fixed that shit yet. Then they pop up with this deductible, so they scratched my fucking brand new washer and dryer, and they want to bring out a pen to basically paint over the scratches. And I'm like, really? That's how you're gonna deal with you damaging my stuff? I hate movers. I've only had one good move. No, I'll say two good moves in my lifetime. One was when I went from Texas to Georgia. The other was further back, when I had all of my things picked up from California and moved to Omaha, Nebraska. Perfect. Those people were perfect. Didn't damage anything. Put things together the right way. You should see the mess they made of my desk. I have this huge L-shaped desk. And these movers put it together all haphazardly, and there's all sorts of gaps and holes, and the drawers fall open by themselves, and so I got duct tape on those. And again, I'm going to end up paying for that out of pocket too, because of the deductible. But anyway, I'm still having a lot of fun here, and still trying to adjust, and still trying to find my mojo back for doing YouTube videos. And I hope I helped somebody out there with what I just explained to you. And what I talked about before, I'll have to make another video about those things. and what I believe to be so about this country, about being black in this country, and then having the intersection of being trans. No sooner that I'll be digging what somebody says regarding us, then out of their mouth comes some transphobic shit. And I'm like, God, can we just look, back in my day, there were all sorts of gay people running around, but they weren't showy. They weren't, they kept their private life to themselves. And James Baldwin was one of them. And who was another one? There was another one. Well, hell, who's that musician that was, he was a way out there queen. I'm sorry, I can't think of his name. But people didn't trip off of them the way that they do now because of social media. What a monster that has become. People will believe what they hear through the grapevine, through social media, and never do any research whatsoever because they are moved by adrenaline rush and dopamine hits to the head for what they're seeing on social media and the arguments they're able to get into with impunity. And hell, I got canceled through that kind of nonsense because people didn't like, white people didn't like what I was talking about there. Not all white people, but enough of them that were trans men that got me kicked off that platform, along with some idiot employees that probably thought, ooh, goody. It reminded me of, I got a top secret security clearance done on me when I was in the military, and they fucked up and confused me with my sister. And I'm sure they were rubbing their hands together like, ooh, we got some juicy shit here, because it would appear that I was living in two different places at the same time, or lying about where I was living when they were picking up what my sister was doing and associating it with me. They didn't bother to check the social security numbers of those people, of me versus my sister, and they went about asking about me by my first name that nobody knew but my mother, my father, my sister, and maybe some aunties knew that name. But nobody else knew that name, so they went in asking people about that name, and they gave them a rundown of my sister. But anyway, those people were salivating, thinking that they found something real juicy. And the reason why I know everything, most of what they said, was I sent away for the report through the Freedom of Information Act. Now, a lot of it was redacted, but enough of it wasn't, where I thought they was having a field day tearing me and my family apart. So did my family. It's the first time I've said out loud, to where they can see it, that I know many of them and the things that they said about us. And I was crushed. I backed away from my family, and they had no idea why. And it wasn't because I was living a gay lifestyle or lesbian lifestyle. It was because of what was in that report. Vicious. People were being vicious because they're jealous. When people are jealous, they say some foul things. They are haters. I was just a kid. What did I ever do except be born to, Bob Gibson? I never did anything to, I was very unassuming. I did not differentiate between my lifestyle and theirs. I hung out with everybody. I was able to get along with everybody. Yet they had this inbred hatred towards me because of who my father was. Anyway, I went around the world again. I do that often, so sorry. People will probably tune out after 30 minutes of this anyway, and they don't hear the rest. So I just wanted to make this video and do what I said I was going to do with integrity. And hope everybody has a good week It's Monday morning. Is it Monday morning? Yep, it's Monday morning. How about those Eagles? And how about the Kansas City Chiefs? Both of them are going to be in the Super Bowl. I'm pleased about that. I like those two teams. Not like a fan, but, I like them. So, everybody have a good one. And the pollinator is out.